The member from Whitby-Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. For over 100 years, Ukrainians have been coming to Canada and Ontario as a way of building a life free from oppression and free to make a better life than was possible in Ukraine. They've come to this country and become building blocks for a nation that grew westward. They helped Canada build railways for the West to become the breadbasket for a continent. This nation and this province would not exist as it does today without the contributions of the thousands of Ukrainian Canadians who have made it home. Ukrainian Canadians like Roy Romano and Ernie Eves have led provincial governments in this century, and in this century, 2 Ukrainian Canadians, Ed Schreier and Ray Natishin, have served as Her Majesty's representatives in Canada. The community has become entwined with the fabric and the future of Canadian society, but it has always done so with a careful and loving eye to events back in the old country. In the last century, Ukraine has struggled to maintain its own identity and forge its own future. Subject to Soviet domination, the extermination offense of the Holodomor, pogroms and invasions, they have held on to what it means to be Ukrainian. We are now seeing daily images of violence and rioting in the streets of Kiev. Many Ukrainians have lost their lives and hundreds more are injured. I would like to offer my condolences and those of the entire PC caucus to the families who have lost family members to the violence that's currently happening in Ukraine. The people in the square in Kiev represent every faction of their country. They speak Russian and Ukrainian, they are young and they are old, they are Catholic, they are Orthodox, they are Jewish, but they are united by the fact that they believe the time is now for a free and independent Ukraine. Riots that started out as a protest driven primarily by a young activist have evolved into a growing symbol of a national dream that has for centuries been deferred rather than realized. Through the protests, Canada has played a role. Our embassy has served as a safe haven for protesters fleeing violent crackdowns by riot police. The federal government has threatened sanctions against the government if the violence in Kiev does not stop. The federal government, following the lead set by Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Minister Baird, have issued a statement saying that Canada continues to call on the government of Ukraine to work with the opposition and achieve a peaceful solution. Peace, freedom, and the ability to assemble freely are at stake every day in the Euromaidan in Kiev. In December, Ontario PC leader Tim Hudak joined thousands of Ukrainian Canadians as they protested the violence with a rally in Dundas Square. We share a common belief in freedom, and that for too long the future of Ukraine has been decided by someone other than the Ukrainian people. Despite a truce being called late Wednesday night by President Yanukovych and opposition leaders, we've seen an escalation of violence claiming at least 100 lives, and the numbers are growing. I want to echo the call of the federal government in demanding a permanent end to this ongoing violence and tragedy. On behalf of the PC caucus, I would ask that the flag at Queen's Park be lowered in memory of the murdered, innocent young activist, as we recognize today as an official day of mourning. It's time for the people of Ukraine to have what so many of their relatives have found here in Ontario: peace, security, freedom, and a future that they decide for themselves. Slava Ukraini, Slava Ukraini, Slava Ukraini.
Point of order from the Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the PC Speaker in her speech, I think very appropriately, asked if the flag could be lowered to half-mast for the remainder of the day to signify the statements that have gone on here about the Ukraine. I'd like to put that formally as a motion before the House to ask for unanimous consent to follow up on her suggestions.
The Government House Leader is asking for unanimous consent to fly the Canadian flag at half-mast for the rest of the day as a symbol to the people of Ukraine, our thoughts and prayers. Do we agree? Agreed.